Now here's the bishop in the funeral. The bishop is saying, hey, even a bishop knows when to stop talking with the president, as if the bishop is better than others. This is a false religion. Be for sure this is a false religion, but this is a false man and his false ideas. Oh, even a bishop, because a bishop's better than the next guy. And the reverend's better than the other person in the pew. And that's a false religion. Okay?
The guiding bishop has sense enough to know not to block the way when the president is waiting to speak. I ask you to give me
even the bishop, see how he says it? Oh, and the president, as their stations in life, in title. Well, all I want to hear is a messenger of God explain why he went to the president knowing the president is going to do nothing. I don't know. You can ask throughout history why God's messengers went to leaders. And sometimes the leaders listened and things went great. The leader listened in Egypt and they saved the food and they were able to get through the drought. The time they didn't listen was in Pharaoh's Egypt. And that's how Obama's being, in Pharaoh's Egypt, where he's got to go through all these plagues. God's messenger is here. He's telling Obama what to do. Obama needs to do what he's told. And those people would not have been dead. And that's the way it is. All right. And I love the color scheme here. The purple, I love the color. They're all better than the next guy. They're so better that all these people and their powers of godliness couldn't stop this from happening because their God is a false God. God, there's only one God. And Jesus Christ, just like Muhammad, are false. Just like this guy is a false prophet. There's only one God. Jesus is not God, neither is Muhammad. And that's why they're dead. That's why on this show, I said it's a false God.
Us to hope. To persevere. And have faith in things not seen.
Did you hear that? The baby crying? The spirit in turmoil? The pain and suffering? You can hear it. They can't cover that up. The power of God is there in this false gathering of evil criminals. This is a gathering of criminals. They're trying to pretend they're with God. They're so far away from God, it's pathetic. They worship a false God and they're dead for it. But do you hear the baby crying? What does that tell you? Does that tell you that he's right? He's righteous? It lets you know that he's the Lord of the Flies. He's an ungodly piece of shit tyrant. And he's the reason they're dead in the first place. You know, he was warned. And this idiot goofball, and this is see no evil, hear no evil, and speak no evil. It's a very classic thing, a false religion. And how they all prayed, yet I prayed that the patriot, and I said on this channel, God is on the side of the patriots. So we have a tyrant down, and another tyrant, another person that's supposed to be our servant, assuming their authority. They're dead now. Assume authority over me, you're dead. Saith the Lord God. God says. Not Muhammad, not Jesus, but God said. Don't put any other God before me. Isn't that funny? How this hippie comes by and says, hey, they're quoting this. You'll hear this in this funeral. They're quoting the New Testament. They call it the New Testament. No, it's the made-up Testament. Because God, in what they call the Old Testament, the original Testament, said, hey, God said, hey. He said there's going to be an angel of light coming. And the Christians are saying, oh no, the angel of light's coming out, the Antichrist sometime in the future. No, the Antichrist is the person they're calling Christ. Didn't he think of something that he hanged out with 12 guys, dudes, this long-haired hippie? And what happened with this dude? What was he doing? He said, oh, you don't have to listen to God's law anymore. Oh, God's law, just believe in me. What? Sanctimonious. Talk about one of the historians was narcissistic. I hope I'm saying that right. And homosexual, because all his disciples were men, you know. All right. But anyways, if some dude comes up and says, hey, don't listen to God, his law doesn't matter, just believe in me. Doesn't matter what sin you do up to the time you die. As long as you say you believe in me, you're safe. That does not sound real to me. It doesn't sound real. I got to be honest. Muhammad says, hey, go kill. Some guy says, come down and says, oh, kill the Jews. That's not really it. So they're both false religions, and God says there's only one God. This is God's messenger, and let's continue on this false heresy, this joke of, just like they said Beau Biden's a good boy, they're saying this boy is a good boy. And they're nothing but scum-sucking tyrants, and they're dead. And thank God they are. Because the power of God is on the side of the patriot.
To remember a man of God who lived by faith.
Okay, he's called him a man of God. I'm the messenger of God. And a top national security advisor before that. I can tell you this is a tyrant piece of shit he's talking about. A worthless piece of crap. And Obama's going to go on to explain how the people in his district are starving, don't have jobs. All these terrible problems are on in his thing, that this guy is a pastor and a tyrant who just got executed. A terrible person got executed for a terrible piece of garbage he is. He's not a man of God. The messenger of God is going to make it very clear. He's not a man of God. And see here, it says on the bottom of the screen, our great leaders have systematically been shot down in our faces. We didn't have any great leaders. What are you talking about? Now, Beau Biden was a piece of shit tyrant that got what's coming to him. The power of God took him down. Again, this piece of shit they're talking about today is the power of God took him down. So the great leaders are here. God's messenger is here. I'm not being shot down. They didn't shoot me down. I'm right here, baby.
As a senator, he represented a sprawling swath of the low country. A place that has long been one of the most neglected in America.
Senator, he's also the pastor. The two people are supposed to be leaders that take care of the community. And did you just say neglected? Listen closely of what this leader has left in his wake. This person I'm saying is a piece of shit tyrant. He's a sellout. Sold his people out. But this piece of shit sellout has got a whole nother way of looking at it. A guy who's, my dad fought communists, and his father was a communist. But we have two different ways of looking at things. A guy from Hawaii, a guy whose family's been in North America for over 250 years. Two different ways of looking at things. Let's go with the... But listen what he's saying. He's talking about this leader now who's been executed. He believes he's been murdered. I believe he's been executed. Well, this guy executed, he says he executed an American. I say he murdered and should be tried, and if found guilty of murder, be hung for murder. But he's talking about, see, who's killing who? He killed a white person saying, oh, he's a terrorist. Let us decide who's a terrorist. We don't need courts of law. This guy said, we don't need courts of law. Let us decide who to kill. So why can't the rest of us decide who to kill? If an idiot from Hawaii can do that, whose dad was a communist, can decide who to kill, why can't all of us decide who to kill? Don't worry about it. Like he says, let us decide. Hey, Obama monkey head, you goofy looking fuck. Let us decide who to kill. You just sit back and shut your fucking mouth because we executed a tyrant, bitch. And let's listen to his testimony of what a piece of shit leader he was.
The place is still racked by poverty and inadequate schools.
Stop it. Inadequate schools racked by poverty. They look like they're doing pretty good with their outfits, their big building and everything. Well, they look like they're doing pretty well, but the place is racked with poverty and all that. What pieces of tyrant shit to manipulate the religion, right? Let's use the religion to take more of your money, right? If we ain't pushing a dope on you, using our goons we call law enforcement to push the dope on your children, and rape your daughters and rape you and your children, We'll send in these assholes to make it all seem all right. Fuck all of you. You got what you deserve, God says. God says, fuck all of you. God says, I'm going to fist fuck you for the next 6 months. Look out, all you tyrants in this country. You're going to get fist fucked for the next 6 months. God's witness has spoken. God's messenger helped you out.
A place where children can still go hungry.
Right?
And the sick.
Right, in a place where the children can still go hungry, and this piece of tyrant shit's on it. And ain't people celebrating his death to this tyrant? All these horrible things. Are you listening closely? Because I know I am.
But without treatment.
Right?
A place that needed somebody like Clinton.
Right? Yeah, they needed all this problems. And I said, oh yeah, he needed him, right? He's saying they're still going without getting medical treatment in poverty. No food. And then he has the nerve, this piece of shit, to say, oh, they needed him. Yeah, they got him. And look what they're left with. Poverty, starvation, kids without medical treatment. Oh my God, it's a mess. Educational problems, right? Like, wow, I wonder what it is. All the money poured into them. And there's no money poured into my children. Message of God's children are all doctors. There's zero money poured into them. He's talking about educational problem, hundreds of thousands of dollars put on each student, and they're all flunking and failing out of school. So here's going to say a community who loved and needed him. The one that's doing so bad, that's in poverty, no education, no health care, they loved him.
From the community that loved and needed him. There he would fortify his faith.
Fortify his faith. What's he talking about? In a false religion. And how did that fortification of a false religion do for him? He's dead. He's executed by a patriot.
He conducted himself quietly and kindly and diligently.
Stop. You know what he's doing? He's starting to say bully pulpit is what he's doing here. Now he's starting to say it's not about pick me anymore, it's about his agenda. Here's the beginning of Obama's agenda. We're not going to play it, of course, but he goes in this rant. First of all, we skipped over like about 5 minutes in the beginning, just saying a bunch of things that made no sense. And then I'm saying, he wrote it himself. Just a lot of sweet, beautiful sounding words that made no sense at all. And we're not going to play it. I'm going to save you from that. Just getting some of the basic root and bone of what a bonehead he is. They're in a false religion. They can pray all they want. I'm praying for their deaths. My prayers, and God answers my prayers. I believe in God. I don't believe in false gods. I believe in God. And God damns these fucks. I told them, I said, hey, your children are going to die and Beau Biden dies. Why don't you think you see that in the news? Why isn't that in the news? I don't know. I guess you know. We all know why, right? All right.
It's not by pushing his ideas along, but by seeking out your ideas.
Stop. Do you see what he just said? He's just playing politics now. It has nothing to do with the eulogy of this tyrant, this piece of shit who got what's coming to him. He's talking about now him. He doesn't want people to give him their ideas. He wants them to go with the flow, which means go with what he says. I mean, translate what the person's saying to you. This guy is a worthless piece of shit. He's given out his agenda during this eulogy, Obama's agenda.
The best of the 46 of us. Clem was often
46 piece of shit tyrants who are why you're getting raped by the police, how they're beating women and children. Remind you, these people wrote laws that stop the police from beating and raping you. This guy's a piece of shit tyrant, and it's unbelievable how sanctimonious these fuckers are being. They're tyrants. They're fucking tyrants, and thank God somebody put a bolt in their fucking head. Thank God.
to be a pastor and a public servant.
Right? Because he didn't want to work for a living, right? Oh, why do you want to be a pastor and a public servant? Because he doesn't want to work. Can a nigga get an amen? Can a nigga get an amen? Oh.
You don't have to be of high station to be a good man.
No.
See, what we're saying, a high station, what's he talking about? A high station. A servant and a high station. Kind of confusing, isn't it? A servant and a high station. Well, there's a problem in that way of thinking, isn't there? The way all these pastors are all in the war. I mean, I never seen so many and bishops and pastors in a convention in my foolish life. What a foolish religion. What a false, foolish religion.
Preacher by 13, pastor by 18, public servant by 23. What a life Clement Pickney lived.
Doesn't sound like he worked a day in his life, does it? Looks like he revolved around getting out of work.
He said, what a model for his faith.
What a perfect model for his faith, right? Doesn't want to work, right? Public servant, pastor, doesn't want to work. He never worked a day in his life. What's wrong with me?